everyone, and welcome to the University of Maine at Prescott's Distinguished Lecture Series. We're very pleased that the lecture series group decided to bring in somebody that is, especially to me, near and dear to my heart. Bob Tarpey is an athletic trainer for the Toronto Blue Jays organization, and he will tell you all that. Bob was a great student here. We're very proud to have him as an alum of our athletic training program. I could tell you a lot of fun stories about Bob. Maybe you would appreciate it if I didn't do that. My best one, though, because Bob, of course, works for baseball. He was a baseball player. And I won't tell any embarrassing stories about baseball. But the best one was Bob played shortstop one game. And he had the best catch on the shortstop, laid right out. And I think the whole earth moved when he caught it. When he landed on the ground. But I've always enjoyed Bob. A hardworking, pleasant young man, and he's grown up to be a great athletic trainer. And he'll tell you a little bit about that as well. He's won a national award, and he's now a married man of 2 years and has twin Hannah and Brady. And you can tell maybe Brady where that name might have come from. Being a New England fan that he is. He's a great dad too. So without further ado, I'll introduce Bob Tarpey.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. First, I just want to start out by saying how great it is to come back to Prescott. I graduated in 2003, so it's been quite a while. I've come back a handful of times since I graduated, but it's always great to come back. I have a lot of good memories up here, met a lot of good people, and this university means a lot to me. I also want to thank Barb Blackstone, Rachel Rice, and Vanessa Patno for getting me up here. We've been talking about this for over a year now, so to finally be here, it's pretty exciting. I'm very proud to be up here speaking to my alumni. It's great. As Barb said, my name is Bob Tarpey. I'm a 2003 graduate. I currently work as a double athletic trainer for the Toronto Blue Jays, and that team is in Manchester, New Hampshire. We're the New Hampshire Fisher Cats, which is great because it's about an hour north of Boston, and that's where my wife Erin and I live, in Winthrop, Mass. And in August, we were blessed with twins, Hannah and Brady. And they're great kids, healthy, a lot of fun, vivacious. They don't like to sleep, though. So if I fall asleep at the podium or look a little groggy, you guys kind of know why. I'm sleep deprived for about 3 months, but it's all worth it. Very blessed to have them in my life. So I want to start a little bit talking about how I got into athletic training. When I was a young boy, I had a love for sports, but more so for baseball. I loved baseball. I ate, slept, and drank baseball. And I couldn't wait every spring for that snow to thaw, and I could try out for a team and go and play. And like probably most people in this room, I wanted to grow up and be the first baseman for the Boston Red Sox. That was my dream. That's not what this speech is about today. Haven't done that quite yet. So my love for baseball actually encouraged me to look at a college or a university or somewhere where I could play, and I'll be provided that in a baseball team. And I was fortunate enough to come here and make the team and play for all 4 years. And that's what drew me to Prescott. And one of the great things about that is when I got here, I didn't know what an athletic trainer was. We had coaches in high school. I played football, hockey, and baseball, and they would tape our ankles and they would just kind of take care of us. So you just go to the ER when you got hurt too bad. But I didn't know what an athletic trainer was, and I came here, and I was in the phys ed department, and I slowly started to hear people talk about athletic training and what it was. And then I started doing my own research, and I realized I can work in professional baseball. And I might have to do it as an athletic trainer, but that's something I think I would like to do. So I started to research it a lot more, ended up meeting Barb and talking to her, and I got accepted into the program. And my 4 years here, I took some amazing classes, and I met some amazing people, and I had some amazing experiences working with the soccer teams and the basketball teams and traveling. But it was the classes like anatomy and physiology that actually, really molded my career. I really had to challenge myself. if I wanted to be a good athletic trainer, I had to do well at these classes. And we have great resources here at the University of Maine at Presque Isle, and I took advantage of them. And I was able to, after 4 years, get a degree that I love, a profession that I absolutely love. So I'm very grateful for that. And while I was here, 2002 was the summer of my junior year. I actually did an internship with minor league baseball team, the Carolina Mudcats, in Zebulon, North Carolina, just outside of Raleigh. And I got to work for the better part of 2 months with Jeremy Moeller was the head trainer down there, and I got to work in the training room and work on players. We had Matt Holliday was on that team, and Clint Barmas, just to name a couple. And I got to hang out in the clubhouse with the guys. I got to hang out with the coaching staff, and I just got to see the day-to-day ins and outs of how baseball in the minor leagues is run. And when I left after that 2 months, I knew that's what I wanted to do for my career. I wanted to pursue athletic training in professional baseball. And even before I graduated, so a year later, in 2003, an internship came up with the Toronto Blue Jays, and I was selected because of my previous experience. So I went down with a major league team to spring training. I worked 6 weeks. I was able to leave Umpy for 6 weeks. Everybody kind of bent over backwards and made that happen. Of course, Barb always leads the charge on things like that. She's been great. So when I was with the Blue Jays, this is when I realized, okay, wow, now I want to do this in the major leagues. Okay, because the perks are a lot better. I got to walk into a training room that had Roy Halladay in it, Carlos Delgado, and Maine native Mike Bordick. Again, just to name a couple of the people down there, but working with those players and seeing how everything was run. Again, I knew that I was going to be challenged every day in this profession, and I needed to get better every day. So I had conversations with Barb, and I had conversations with George Poulos, the head trainer with the Toronto Blue Jays, and we all kind of agreed that it would be important for me to further my education, further my degree, if I wanted to pursue this. So that's when I landed at the California University of Pennsylvania, which is about 35 miles south of Pittsburgh. I worked for a year straight and got my master's, and that was great for me because we got to, again, further my anatomy knowledge. We did gross anatomy down there, had cadaver labs. We had our own cadaver, and it was actually pretty amazing and humbling to know that was somebody's family member there. So you really had to take it serious and take pride in your work. And after that class, it was one of the hardest courses that I've ever taken, and I did really well at it, and that has since helped me in my career today. The other thing while I was at Cal U that really helped me was I was a graduate assistant athletic trainer, and I worked at a school called Charleroi High School, and this is in western Pennsylvania where football is huge. Dan Marino came from there, and Revis Island, and Joe Montana, I think, was from the high school right across. So it was really intense kind of high school football, and I was the head athletic trainer for this high school, and it was the first time that I had worked on my own, using my skills without anybody's guidance or advice. So that was great for me because I was able to develop that confidence and start to realize that, okay, I am well skilled. I still need to get better, but I can do this, and that helped me with my confidence. And from there, I knew that I was ready to pursue a career in professional baseball. So in 2005, after I graduated, I got an opportunity to go to Mesa, Arizona, and with an independent baseball team. When we graduated, it was in the middle of the season, so the Blue Jays weren't hiring until the following year. So I went to Mesa, Arizona from Maine in the middle of the summer in July. I don't know if anybody's ever done that, but I went from about 38 degrees at night to 119 in the day. They asked me if I was going to be okay. I said, yeah, no problem, I got it. And I'll tell you what, I stepped off that plane, it was a little tough. But we got through it. That team was the Mesa Miners, and I got to work with ex-major league players, and it was a really intense environment because there's no feeder system for them. So for them, that is the major leagues. So you're making a lot of decisions regarding players' health on the day-to-day operations for the front office and for the coaching staff. So that also helped build up my confidence and my experience and my knowledge going into professional baseball, and that's eventually what I was able to do. But before that, when I moved home, 2005, I got an interesting job I'm proud of. I worked with the United States Navy as a civilian in a physical therapy clinic in Newport, Rhode Island, and I was able to work with Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Marine pilots, and a lot of other active duty service members. And I really enjoyed that because they are basically professional athletes, but it's a little bit different environment for them. Okay, less video games and more real life experiences for those guys. And a neat story that I had from there, one I'm proud of, is one of my Navy SEALs had gone to have his physical because he had just had shoulder surgery, and he was told that he will not be able to deploy. And I think it was 3.5 months away. So he was not going, he was off that team, and he came into rehab with us, and he said he wanted to do everything he could to try to get better. So after about 2 months, he went back and saw the surgeon, and he came back in and he pulled me aside and pulled me in private in the office, and he just said, after all the hard work that we've done and everything, the doctor cleared me to go. I said, wow, that's great. I didn't really think much of it. I thought it was awesome. It's always good to be able to help people and get athletes back on the field. And then he kind of took it a step further, and he reached into his pocket and he pulled out this coin, and it was a Navy SEAL coin, and on one side it had the U.S. Navy SEAL logo, and on the other side it had the U.S. Navy SEAL Team 7 logo on it. He handed it to me and said, on behalf of the United States and the United States Navy, we want to thank you for serving your country, so here's this coin. It just kind of blew me away. I didn't really expect that. Usually we just kind of go and help people, and we just go home and that's it. But this really affected him, and he was very happy to be able to go deploy for his country. It's something that he was proud about. So for me, I still have the coin. I cherish it, and just a neat story to have. So when I was working with the Navy, it was in a physical therapy clinic setting, and I was an athletic trainer, and I had this dream of being a head athletic trainer for a Major League Baseball team. So I made the decision to leave the Navy when a position opened up at the Toronto Blue Jays in 2006. So I was hired by them full-time, and I went to their rookie league team in Pulaski, Virginia. Pulaski's out in western Virginia, out in Appalachia. So it's a different part of the country, but a lot of good people there, and developed a lot of good friendships and had some great experiences. From there, I went on to Lansing, Michigan, 2007 and 2008. Lansing was great. It was a step up. It was kind of like players. You go in a rookie ball, then you kind of advance and work your way up. So I was up, I jumped 2 levels. And in 2008, I was fortunate enough to be named the Midwest League Athletic Trainer of the Year, which was a great honor. It was the first time I'd ever won that. My peers, there was 14 teams in the league, so 14 trainers voted and decided I was the Trainer of the Year. I thought that was unbelievable. What a great honor that was. So from there, I went on to Dunedin in 2009, which was a great experience for me as well, because we worked at Major League facilities. All the spring training facilities in Florida were all state-of-the-art, and our league was run out of those facilities. But the best part about that was when this was the first time that I was able to work with Major League rehabs. So they would send guys down, B.J. Ryan, Vernon Wells, people like that would come down and rehab, and then we would get them back to go. So this is the first time that I'm working with Major League players on my own, getting them ready to go play Major League Baseball. And that's something that I really accepted that challenge. I enjoyed it. I still do to this day, but I'll just never forget the year in 2009 when it was the first time that I had that responsibility. 2010, I got the promotion that I wanted to go to the New Hampshire Fisher Cats. I grew up in York, Maine. I was about an hour from Manchester, and at the time I was living in Boston, which I still do. So again, it was about only an hour away. And in my time with the Fisher Cats, in 2010, I was elected to go to the Arizona Fall League, which is basically a short season of about 35 to 40 games that they do in Arizona after the season with all the top minor league players in all of professional baseball. And they form 6 teams, and they go out and they play these games against each other, and all the scouts come out, and it's pretty prestigious. So that was a lot of fun for me to be able to go out there and work. And some, one of the notable players was Jason Kipnis was on that team, and he just played for the World Series with the Indians. He's a second baseman. Then in 2014, while I was with the Fisher Cats, I was voted the 2014 Eastern League Athletic Trainer of the Year by my peers in that league. And then what they do after that is, so every league, there's about 18 leagues plus coordinators, so there's about 19 people out of about 200 that won these awards in their respective leagues. And from there, they break it down to one person to be the minor league athletic trainer of the year. And I was a finalist, and I thought, geez, that's great. I'm not going to win. That's fantastic. I didn't expect to win, and got a phone call back that I did. And it was beyond humbling at that point. I I just couldn't believe it, but I was very proud of that. And I had great experiences of being able to go out to San Diego to winter meetings to accept my award with my wife, and it was a pretty proud moment for me to have her in the audience while I accepted that award. That was pretty nice. And then also, for the following season, when you win minor league athletic trainer of the year for all of the minor leagues, you're allowed to work, or they select you to work for the Futures game, which is played the day before, or 2 days before the Major League All-Star game in that city. So I went to Cincinnati and worked the Futures game. And again, my wife was in the stands, my parents were in the stands, so it was really a lot of fun. I got to work with, the next level players. They were all the guys that are supposed to be in the big leagues very shortly. So I got to work with some notable names there as well. And one fun thing was, I don't know if you guys see that they play the celebrity softball game. They always air it on MTV, stuff like that, around that time. Well, one of the perks of the job was I got to be the trainer for that team. So we had all sorts of Jordan Sparks and all sorts of people. And then it was Macklemore, I think, who slid with shorts on, and he got all scraped up. So I got to work with Macklemore. So we're old buddies now. So. Some other perks that I've had throughout my career, I've worked All-Star games in the Midwest League and then in New Hampshire in 2011. I've been invited to go work at Fenway Park with the Blue Jays, and I got to sit in the dugout, and I even got to spend one inning where I had to go out to the bullpen. I got to sit in the bullpen because they needed some strength and conditioning equipment or something out there. So I got to run out on the field while the Red Sox reliever was coming onto the field, and I was running by him on the bullpen. Just kind of one of those surreal moments where you go, what am I doing here? What is this? So that was a lot of fun for me. I was invited by the Blue Jays to go down to Yankee Stadium a few years ago, and I got to work in that facility and sit in the dugout for the games down there. That's an unbelievable experience as well, to work with the major leaguers down there at their ballpark. And some other fun stories that I have. I know I got a bunch of good ones. I'll just share a couple here. But I was in Trenton, New Jersey. We're playing the AA affiliate of the Yankees. And I was in the lobby with my manager, Bobby Meacham. He used to play for the Yankees. And one of his buddies from the Yankees came down. And he's a special advisor with the Yankees. And, Bobby and him and this other guy said, hey, do you want to ride to work? I said, yeah, let's go. It was Reggie Jackson. So I got to ride to work from Reggie Jackson. I thought that was pretty neat. So that's one of the perks of the job there. And another fun thing for us is we have a lot of, great ex-Major League talent that work as coordinators and stuff. And in our farm system, Mike Mordecai and Sal Fasano was my manager for years. And then Tim Raines is our outfield and base running coordinator. And hopefully he's going to be a Hall of Famer next year. He should be. Every time he comes into town, we get to go golfing. So it's kind of funny, again, where I find myself in these surreal moments where I'm out golfing with Tim Raines and Bob Stanley. What am I doing here? So that really has been quite a bit of fun. So, I just wanted to say, too, that, I've been doing this for 11 years with the Blue Jays. Now this will be my 12th coming up, and, life changes. I hope I'm not done in minor league baseball. The goal is to be a major league athletic trainer, and that's what I intend to do. I'm going to keep working towards that. So that's where I'm at in my career for now. And I just wanted to touch a little bit too upon, why I'm here. You had mentioned that in 2015, I was honored with the award from the University of Maine Presque Isle, being a distinguished recent alumni. And you look back on all these experiences, all these great things that have happened to me throughout my career, and then to have a university like this come back and bestow an honor like that is, I can't even put it into words. How honored I am. I really am. So, Barb has a lot to do with that, and me being here tonight. And, you kind of molded me throughout my career, and I really appreciate that. I'm glad that I'm able to come back up here and give back a little bit to the university. So I'm not sure if everybody in the audience is an athletic trainer, but I can just tell you a little bit about, instead of just going over my resume, maybe tell you a little bit about, what we do as minor league athletic trainers. We go to spring training for 6 weeks, and that's a grind. That's, you're in there at 6 a.m. every day at the latest, and you're out the door by 5 or 6 at night, if not later. And but the schedule changes a little bit when you go off to your season. In April, we leave, and I go up to New Hampshire. A typical day would be for a 7 o'clock game, get to work about noon, set up, and then we'll do we'll start to do some rehab and treatment before stretch, probably around 2 o'clock. So from 2 to 4, we do all that, and then the players will go out, stretch, hit BP, and then they come back in for about an hour, get a bite to eat. We do more treatment. We go out and watch the game, make sure nobody dives over a tarp or does something crazy, because it's never a regular injury, it's always something wild. And then after the game, we'll do post-game treatments, and we'll do the reports, medical reports to send out to the front office as well. And some of the things that we do in the rehab portion of it, and I'll kind of be quick with that, but we do a lot of hands-on manual therapy. We do a lot of stretching techniques to keep people loose, and a lot of what we do is really, I kind of talk to some people sometimes and they say, what do you do? You're the guy that when the person gets injured, you go out and take care of them. Well, really, the most important part of my job is to prevent that injury from happening in the first place. So you always got to have communication going with your players, see how they're feeling, and you got to get your hands on them at least a couple times a week to see where they're at, where the shoulder motion is. If guys have bad backs, you got to see what their hamstring motion is and how their lower body functions, things like that. And we again use a lot of manual therapy technique, where we actually physically go in and kind of try and change the size and shape of the muscle and how it works. And I'll do some cupping. I'm sure some of you saw that in the Olympics, where everybody was doing cupping, where you get the kind of octopus-shaped bruises on your body. That works quite a bit for recovery. We use that a lot. We use Graston, which is a scraping technique. You cover the person in like a kind of a lotion, and then you take this metal bar and scrape it over them. It doesn't sound too appealing, but they feel better afterwards. Some of the other things that we do is we use laser and ultrasound as part of modalities to kind of help the healing process. So that's it for that. And I know that there's probably some people in the audience that aren't athletic trainers. Some are students, some are staff, some are faculty. I just really want everybody to kind of be able to take something away from today if you're not an athletic trainer. So I want to talk about, we all kind of have the same goals. We might be in different professions, but everyone in here in this room has the same goal to be successful at whatever it is that we do. And I want to talk about certain ways that maybe we can all kind of be aware of what we can do to make sure that we are successful, or at least on the right path toward being successful. And something that I've kind of gotten into lately is talking about mindset. What is your mindset in each situation? And it's not just at work, it can be at home, and you might have to have the same mindset for everything, but we're going to be challenged a lot in our lives, in our careers. And for me, in the research that I've done, there's really just two types of mindsets, the way that your body thinks or reacts to situations. And a good way to describe that is you have the victim mindset versus the warrior mindset. So the victim mindset would be someone who is, woe is me, why did this happen to me? Just overall have a negative outlook on life, just can't catch a break, and they blame the world for all their troubles. It's not their fault. Whereas the warrior takes on any fault, or takes everything on their own. And the warrior is kind of the opposite. They're more positive in all situations, no matter how bleak the situation may seem. There's really no challenge too steep, and the warriors are a lot more kind in every situation. And I just want you guys to kind of start to see the balance between the two. The warrior would be somebody that would appreciate all the good things that they have, where the victim is upset about the things that they don't have but that they want. So they aren't able to take time to appreciate the good things that they have. The warrior helps others and themselves, helps others up, helps everyone else to make the group better. And that's how they, in turn, make themselves better. Or a victim would be somebody who breaks another person down to make them look better instead of being better. So you can kind of see the pattern of where this is going. So really, I urge everyone to just start to identify what your mindset is in every situation. Make sure you try to have the warrior mentality, and you'll have the best chance at being successful, like we talked about before. And it doesn't matter what the situation may be. But I was on the treadmill the other day, and it was getting really tough because I've had twins and I haven't worked out for a while. So I was on the treadmill and I was going up to about level 15. When I got to level 12, and I started to kind of get this this kind of victim, well, you know, I haven't worked out in a few months, and, you know, maybe I'll just not go all the way up. And I said, no, wait a second, I need to be in that warrior mentality. Okay, I need to be able to finish this, complete this, and I need to do this. Because there's no challenge, you know, too tough for what I have to do. So I really hope that you can all just kind of take away from that and wake up each day and think about whatever situation it is that you're in. If you can just think about, okay, what is my mindset right now? Am I playing the role of the victim, or am I playing the role of the warrior? And you got to think about, too, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be? I'd rather be the warrior personally, you know, and I think all of us would too. And I think as I've started to take on this mindset and thinking about this in every situation, whether it's at work or home, I find that life is a lot more easier. It's more enjoyable, and the people around you start to notice that, and it just makes things better. So if that's one thing that we can take away from this talk tonight, I hope tomorrow when you guys are faced with a tough situation, whatever the case may be, just kind of ask yourself, okay, what would the victim do? What would the warrior do? And then you say, well, I'm the warrior, so this is what I'm going to do. All right? I wish you all the very best, and I can't thank you all for coming out here tonight. And I know that we're going to do a little bit of Q&A. So I don't know if we get that started.
So, do you travel with your team?
I do. Yeah, I travel with the team. Yeah.
What kind of facilities are provided for you when you travel?
In AA?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fortunate enough to go to Portland, Maine a few times a year, which is the best city in all minor league baseball. I'm sure if you guys have been down there, you know that. But and then we've been, you know, there's other cities. We go to Richmond, Virginia. We go to Akron, Ohio. We go to some other places. I hope people aren't from there. To Binghamton, New York, or some places that are a little bit, you know, less desirable. But it's not the major leagues. But we do have a lot of great experiences throughout the summer, traveling with the team, traveling with the players, and that's really one of the things that becomes most enjoyable for me is the camaraderie you create on the buses, and the conversations that you make. Bob Stanley was my pitching coach a couple of years ago. We've become good friends with him, but one of the best things, it was the first road trip we took, and Bob and I sat there and we talked about 1986, the World Series, ball going between Buckner's legs. He was on the mound, and I got to hear his perspective of it, and I just sat there and I was just listening. It was really, really cool, growing up a Red Sox fan, even just a baseball fan. It's pretty neat. Yeah.
How, I can see obviously how this has played a role for you, but being a baseball player, growing up a passionate Red Sox fan, being a follower of baseball, how has that helped your minor league career, the relationships that you've developed?
That's a great point. That's a very good point. Well, it is great to understand the game. We talked about that at dinner tonight, where you got to kind of understand the culture of the game, and knowing the game is very, very important. And that's something that if you don't know the game, if you're a soccer person and you go into baseball, you're going to be behind a little bit. Because you got to know what to look for on the field. You got to know what to expect out of the player. You know, and that really is huge. And another thing is we do a lot of the rehab programs in the minor leagues. So I was fortunate enough to play, and that's one question they ask in the interviews, because we have to go out there and throw long toss with these professional players. So I try to do my rotator cuff tubing whenever I can, because these guys are going back to 200 feet, and I'm just rolling the ball in. And mine are just killing it. Any other question? Blue Jays hat in the back. Great hat. Canadian?
Yeah.
All right.
Not my team, but fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I got a question.
Yes.
So, you're in season from February to October. So what does your off season look like?
Well, yeah, we were talking about that earlier too. So for a minor league trainer, we just get that time off. You know, we do have a list of players that we need to keep in contact with, make sure they're healthy and, you know, not gaining weight and doing all things like that. But we have the time off, so I'm at home with my family, which is great. And in years past, I would teach, be a substitute teacher in Boston, or I would do labor work. I'd, install tile and carpet and stuff like that. So however you want to fill your time is what you can do. But right now, I'm daddy daycare, 24 hours a day, and it's a lot of fun. It's a blast.
So you went to California. What did you get your master's in? Did you get a higher athletic training, or did you go?
I got my master's in athletic training. So, and that kind of worked out great for me at that time. That was the best thing to do, to be able to further my career in baseball. And I really think it did help me, because there were times where, I got promotion over somebody else. Got bumped up at times, got more pay at certain times. So, you know, it really was very beneficial for me to do that. And just, I would recommend anybody who wants to further their education, just find out what it is they want to do. I was fortunate enough to be in a career that I loved. I still do. But for AT students, there's so many different options that you can go toward. Physical therapy, you know, be a physician's assistant. Keep your mind open to things. And that's another one of those warrior mentalities. Is kind of the victim would always be somebody who says, you know, I've always done it one way, I won't do it any other way. Be open. Be open-minded in everything. Any other questions?
What's the most challenging injury that you've had to work with?
The most challenging injury that I've ever had to work with. I knew that question was going to get asked. Well, one of the scariest ones that I ever had was actually when I was a student here, working at a summer camp in Rhode Island. This kid came up to me, and he was probably 7 or 8 years old, and he was in the baseball camp, and he's like, I want to, you know, Bengay or some rub for my arm. I said, all right, let me just take a look at your arm. And I looked at his arm, and this kid, arm's bigger than me, 7 or 8 years old. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. Good for you, buddy. And I said, well, all right, let me do the right thing. You know, I was going to check bilaterally. So I looked at his other arm. It was a beanpole. So his arm over here was huge, and his other arm was, you know, this isn't making sense. The blood was going in, but it wasn't coming out. The kid, he had an occlusion of the subclavian vein, and they airlifted him out, and he was from Michigan or something. He didn't even have any family. And when he got to the hospital, they told him that they were probably going to have to amputate. This is like an 8-year-old kid with no family there. And luckily, they saved him. They were able to. But you know, I often go back and I think a lot of times, what if I just gave him that Bengay or the rub? You know, kind of scary to think about. And then in terms of you know, baseball, one of the more challenging injuries that I've ever had is usually it's somebody with a shoulder surgery. You know, a rotator cuff tear, which we don't see, not a complete tear, we don't see a lot of. We see a lot of labrum injuries, and some guys come back great, and some guys don't come back at all. I'd rather take an elbow over a shoulder any day. But that appears to be the most challenging surgery that we deal with.
So, how do you see the injuries differ from when you're at collegiate level versus professional? Do you get the same response like, oh, my shoulder hurts, my elbow hurts, or do you find that the athletes are taking it a little bit more serious and it's actually more serious issues you have to deal with?
Well, yeah, no, it's a good question because everybody's mindset is different. Because you get, you know, being a naive athletic trainer, I just think either, you know, if somebody's hurting, they're hurting. So some players, you got to get to know them. Some aren't hurting quite as bad as others, and some have a torn UCL, and it's just kind of like, yeah, I just need some ice. And that's where you're going to become good at your evaluative skills. You're going to be a good clinician, and to be able to identify that, so you don't send them back out there, you know, to injure themselves further. You know, that's your job, and that's your duty as an athletic trainer. And it's actually their right as an athlete to get good care from you. So that's why you always have to stay current with your education and you know, with all your literature and things like that. You know, you need to be good at what you do. And kind of another twist on that too is when you think about the collegiate level, nobody's really going to get released in the collegiate level. So we have a lot of players get released in spring training. There are a lot of players get released throughout the season. So that's another thing you got to keep in the back of your mind when somebody comes up, you know, right after the draft all these kids, and then somebody's got, my elbow kind of hurts, my shoulder kind of hurts. A lot of kids will actually fake an injury to stay longer to get paid and things like that. So it's kind of interesting. And then you're dealing with the psychological aspect of it as well. So. I guess too, one thing that I left out of my talk too, and I'll talk about the role of the athletic trainer is you're really kind of the head honcho of the team, because we're the travel director as well for the team, so we deal with all of the different arrangements and rooming lists. When a player leaves to go to AAA, we book their flight, things like that. It's getting a little bit better. Front office is starting to help a little bit more, but you know, back in the day, before I got into baseball, I mean, athletic trainers used to clean the clubhouse and do the laundry. So that stuff's kind of going by the wayside, and then now the travel stuff, they're starting to take away from us as well, because people are really starting to see the benefit of having, you know, good medical staff. with sports teams. And like I said before, the biggest thing that you can do is try and prevent an injury. And that's what we've been trying to do with all of our research that we do. Spring training, we do all the shoulder motion, range of motions, and then we try to monitor that throughout the year just to avoid any injury that we can. And then working with the players, the biggest thing would be, when we show them how to do their rotator cuff exercises, actually show them how to do it. It's very specific how you're supposed to do it, what muscles to activate, and how to do it. As athletic training students, you guys will start to learn that stuff. But take pride in it. Some teams just put pictures up on the wall and say, go do your rotator cuff stuff. Well, that's not the way that we do it. We take a little bit more pride in that. So that's something that I struggled with at first, and then the more experience that I got, the better I became at it, and I take pride in it. Take pride in human movement, and trying to keep people off the training table.
Do you have sports performance coaches too, like strength and conditioning coaches? And if so, how do you work with them or prevent injuries and get
Great question. Yeah, I do. Actually, I've been with my strength and conditioning coach, Brian Pike, for 8 out of 11 years. So we have a really, really good relationship. But yeah, we have to communicate all the time because when he's working out with the players, I'm in doing rehab with my guys. And if he hears somebody's back sore, or I don't want to do this because my shoulder's a little tender, and he doesn't tell me that, well, that can kind of become a big issue later. So him and I, we talk a lot. And we don't just talk once a day; we talk multiple times a day. And usually when something comes up, he tells me right away. And it's kind of nice too. I do a lot with like the shoulder rehab and all the exercises, basically for the upper extremity. But for the lower extremity, when I get guys with hamstrings, I can just send Brian in there and just say kind of like, hey, this is where he's at. I tested him, got he's grade 1, about 10 days out, started to do more, and then we'll just talk about the exercises that he can do in the weight room. So it's really been great in that regard. But a lot of that stuff too, you can't just throw him into the training room and say he's got a hamstring. And let him go. You gotta be able to communicate where they're at, give them a good update at that point. So. Any other questions?
All right.
Thank you all very much for coming out. I really do appreciate it. I hope that you guys all got something out of this. Really do. Thank you. Lauren.
We're so happy to have you, Bob, come back to the university. This is just a little something. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.